The disruptive Occupy Wall Street protest.
You want to know why it's all happening? Because the terrorists who are calling themselves liberals are unleashing the mobs on the American people. That's why.
When I watch this, I think these people are being used. They're useful idiots. They have no clue at the damage that they're doing.
I think if you put every single left-wing cause into a blender and hit power, this is the sludge you'd get.
These people are the perpetually lazy, spoiled, rotten, 99% white kids who don't have anything else to do.
And they claim to be taking inspiration from the Arab Spring. So I guess they're a bunch of Al-Qaeda-type terrorists.
I would think these folks are deluded in a lot of ways and probably provide the best argument for national service for 18-year-olds that we have ever seen in this country.
Because these are hardcore communists. They've been trained at ruckus camps ever since they've been drugged up as babies to do this. They're not there to reason with you. They are street radicals. These are the street vermin that brought Hitler to power.
For instance, take a look at this group. This is an amazing, whoa, look at that. Wow. See what you have? Nearly all of them are under 30 and white, but some are fat and some are fatter. Some are dirty and some are even dirtier. Still, some you'll see here are skanks and some are even skankier. Wow.
But again, what do these people want? The common thread seems to be income equality. Groups like the Working Families Party and the Strong Economy for All coalition are basically socialistic outfits. They want the government to take money away from the affluent and give it to them.
We are watching the first phase of the street action of the Communist Party USA under the guise of Occupy Wall Street.
Now, we have a real collection of misfits in this operation. No doubt promoted by commie professors and people of that ilk. We have children, that is, people who are barely past puberty, protesting against the rich. So to call this the Occupy Wall Street protesters is not correct. They are a bunch of Marxist hoods, parasites, who want to steal your liberty and your private property and that of your children and grandchildren.
It is really amazing what is happening in America. Can you imagine if the Tea Party would have been endorsed by the American Nazi Party?
CNN said the mayhem was caused by anarchists who, quote, infiltrated the protest. Infiltrated? Try maybe organized?
I am increasingly concerned about the growing mobs occupying Wall Street and the other cities across the country. And believe it or not, some in this town have actually condoned the pitting of Americans against Americans.
The bankers and the people on Wall Street didn't write these failed policies of the Obama administration. They didn't spend $1 trillion that didn't work. The administration and the Democrats spent $1 trillion. They're not proposing another $450 billion. The administration is proposing another $450 billion wrapped in different rhetoric. We know that the unions and certain union-related organizations have been behind these protests that are going on Wall Street and other parts around the country.
Well, I think the sad thing is this is the natural product of Obama's class warfare.
How do you explain the Occupy Wall Street movement happening across the country, and how does it relate with your message? Herman Cain, I got to ask you, you said, quote, don't blame, 2 weeks ago, you said, don't blame Wall Street, don't blame the big banks. If you don't have a job and you're not rich, blame yourself. That was 2 weeks ago. The movement has grown. Do you still say that?
Yes, I do still say that. And here's why. I still stand by my statement, and here's why. They might be frustrated with Wall Street and the bankers, but they're directing their anger at the wrong place. Wall Street didn't put in failed economic policies. Wall Street didn't spend $1 trillion that didn't do any good. Wall Street isn't going around the country trying to sell another $450 billion. They ought to be over in front of the White House taking out their frustration. So I do stand by that.
Well,
The occupiers, Neil, are protesting in the wrong place. There's plenty of greed on Wall Street, but the problem originates here in Washington.
Now, the president's use of the word justice is interesting. What's the definition of justice? Some folks believe that it's making sure everybody has the same amount of money. That's the income equality group. They want governments around the world to take money away from the affluent and business and give it to the quote-unquote people.
What do they want? What do they want? Do they want somebody else to pay their loans off?
Well, yes.
No, I mean, seriously.
No, that's what they called for. No, they don't want a free ride.
The oligarchs, a party of the unions and a party of the grifters and the others who have sacked the Treasury. And so today I can prove it. Once again, the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee is asking supporters to sign a petition in support of the vermin called Occupy Wall Street movement. This is coming from the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee itself. And the fact of the matter is that these Wall Street protests are nothing but a cover-up for the most corrupt administration in American history.
So a lot of the economic conditions in this country are a direct result of the poor economic policies of this president.
First of all, the people behind the protests are smart. They have designed a plan that deflects the bad economy away from President Obama onto greedy Wall Street people, and by extension, the Republican Party.
I'm with them. By the way, I thought I was Captain Stupid.
Why did you say they should be picketing in front of the White House?
I said that they should be protesting in front of the White House because Wall Street did not produce these failed economic policies. Wall Street did not spend $1 trillion nearly, or if you want to start at $787 billion, almost $1 trillion of failed economic stimulus. Wall Street isn't the one that is now proposing that we spend another $450 billion that's not going to work because the other $1 trillion didn't work. Their frustration should be directed at the White House. Sean, I believe that this is a coordinated effort on the part of the unions and Obama supporters to distract the American people from the real problem, which is the failed policies of the Obama administration.
It seems to be misdirected, the anger. Shouldn't it be, shouldn't many of these protests be taking place at the White House?
I always say
bad policy.
You know, if I could speak to that group, I'm not sure I'm exactly the right person.
I don't know if I'd advise you going down there.
Yeah, but if I could speak to that group, I'd say, folks, let's go. Let's hop on the train. Let's hop on the planes. We're going down to Washington.
Maybe you can take them on your big new jet.
I'll do that.
Instead of protesting Wall Street, the job creators generating the wealth for the city and the state to keep these public pensions going and the unions going and so on, why aren't they protesting the White House and the Democrats in Congress?
Fair, balanced, or crazy and unbalanced.
This attack upon business, attack upon industry, attack upon freedom, freedom. Now the unions seem to be weighing in and trying to subvert that anger into a political power to try to reelect a president whose policies are just totally ignorant and incompetent. And his administration have policies that are taking our freedom away. They're killing our economy. They're killing jobs. They're running them over offshore. And we've got to change all that. And it's absolutely critical for the future of our nation, for your grandchildren's future, because if we don't, this economy is going to have a bigger crash than we had in the Great Depression. That's what this president is taking us towards, and it has to stop.
Well, citizen activism is good, but our citizens need to be informed. And what we're seeing here is folks who really are misdirected. They don't have a focus. They're unhappy. They want to blame someone, and the president is telling them through his class warfare that they should blame the capitalists. This has been repeated throughout history. The problem is in a government that's too big, spending too much money, and put a big wet blanket on our whole economy. And if these protesters want to help us, if they want to have jobs, they need to change the president. They need to change the Senate.
You know, I think the group is broken down to 3 types of people. There's the communists/socialists. There are the college kids who have been fed all this garbage. You know, the 4 years are in college, and they're finally finding a way to kind of put that to use by doing this. And then you have your dirty, smelly hippies.
But he went to school and stuff. I didn't go to school.
Didn't at all. You know what else?
They call each other comrades. They have the support of the Nazi Party and the Communist Party. These people are fringe. They're about to go away. So the weather gets cold, they're done.
They want redistribution of wealth. That's what they want. They want socialism in this country.
And that's exactly right, Kimberly. And we need to keep our eye on what's really going on here. The radical leftists always play the long game, okay? And they always keep their eyes on the prize. This movement, such as it is, has been in the pipeline for months. SEIU, Adbusters, which has serious George Soros money into it. This is being done for a couple of reasons: to distract from Obama's abysmal record, to mobilize the left-wing base, and also to get the country sort of riled up so that they can equate the Tea Party with what's going on now when there's no comparison whatsoever.
Does it bother you at all, Monica, that 1% of the people in this country control 40% of the wealth?
What are you talking about?
Does it bother you? Does it bother you? That 1% control 40% of the wealth?
So how do you fix it? Hold on.
Wait a second. I'm not asking you. I'm asking Monica.
How would you fix it? You have government come in and change the system.
I think
you're for wealth redistribution.
Right,
you're
exactly.
for the government confiscating wealth and
so you think it's okay? I just want to get an answer. You guys are okay with 1% controlling 40% of the wealth?
Socialism.
I would love to control 40% of the wealth.
And you have half of the country not
and I'm proud of that.
paying any taxes whatsoever. Right. So the fact that you suggest that the people that are making, believe me, even 250,000 above are carrying this country.
But 1%, 40%.
I want to control the wealth.
Same coalition, which makes up the Democratic Party when you think about it, of special interest groups. You got the environmentalists are there. If there's one, I guess, common theme that runs through, I guess, the narrative that they're advancing down there is that they hate corporations, they hate capitalism, and in the end, ultimately, they want statism over free markets. So they really don't like freedom because they'd empower the government to take everybody's money and redistribute it into programs they want, right?
Oh, absolutely. Mob uprisings are always left-wing.
Can this movement last if there is no singular voice, no singular leadership to it?
It depends how much money Soros is willing to invest. George Soros, the far-left financier.
You get on this bandwagon, you get on this Occupy Wall Street, and I'm telling you, I think Center for American Progress knows exactly what they're doing. These guys aren't dummies. You get on this bandwagon, and you will be destroyed. You'll be destroyed. And I think they know it. I think they know it, and Nancy Pelosi is just dumb enough to take the bait. It's great. It's exciting. It's great. You're dumb. She's just dumb. I haven't met a person yet, left or right, that has ever met Nancy Pelosi who hasn't said, dumb as a box of rocks.
GBTV. The truth lives here.
Now for reaction to all of these new developments, the author of the New York Times bestseller. It's called Demonic. You talk about the mob in this book, don't you? Is that a mob?
Why, yes, it is. It's amazing.
I don't even have to introduce you. Everybody knows. What's up with this little itty-bitty purse thing? What is this?
That's my earpiece, which I don't need here.
Oh, okay.
I think we're on air, Sean.
Oh, I'm just checking.
No, it's amazing how these protesters, these mob protests, are precisely following the contours of my book. You know, liberals get upset that I say that these mobs, the liberal mobs, are demonic, and yet they themselves are quoting the first scene in my book from the Bible. They put up describing the Occupy Wall Street, this weird computer voice saying the voice of the people is anonymous, for we are legion. That's what the demonic spirit says to Jesus when he says, what is your name? Americans are reacting the way they should, which is with hilarity and revulsion.
This is the Democratic Party. This is the base of the Democratic Party.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I write about in my book. And now the Democrats, you'd think they'd step away from these demonic loons and teenage runaways, adolescents looking for a cause. No, they are throwing themselves right in with these protesters, who, by the way, are also calling for, curiously enough, we need another French Revolution.
Yeah.
It was street communists like these rats who went in the streets, disrupted German society, attacked the police, caused a ruckus, and caused a Nazi party to originate, caused the Nazi party to create the brown shirts, which fought with them in the streets, which is exactly what the communists want. This is a disaster for America. And the faster the police crack down on these dirty vermin in the streets and arrest them, the less chance there will be of a Nazi party arising in the United States of America.
Protests that have as their purpose the annihilation of our society.
because that's actually what it ultimately will lead to, right? If you move away from capitalism toward what we're talking about before, revolution, you're going to have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of people who are going to lose their lives.
We think not needs, but will happen. If you think back to the late 60s, what is the most stirring image of all of the rebellion that happened? What do we remember? Kent State. Now, I'm not saying somebody has to get killed. What will happen there will be a climax moment of class warfare somehow played out on screen.
With more on that, plus an exclusive first look at what is soon to be a New York Times #1 bestseller. It's the explosive, controversial new book, Demonic, How the Liberal Mob is Endangering America. It hits stores tomorrow morning. Best-selling author Ann Coulter is here to come up with this title, Demonic, which they'll freak out about.
Right.
Why? How do
Well, I began the book with the scene in the Bible when Jesus approaches the possessed man, and the possessed man's screaming, he's out of his mind, he's naked, he's running around. Don't torture me, don't torture me. And Jesus, there's a little exchange. Jesus says, what is your name? And he answers, my name is Legion. Then the demons run out of him. The demon's name is Legion. The demon is always a mob. And you see this over and over again in real-life exorcisms. They talk to the possessed, and it's always they. Satan saying, they all belong to me. And this is, it's part of why liberals are a mob and are so obsessed with status and power. Conservatives, as I said, have a real savior. It's more up and down. We don't care as much. In fact, Christians kind of like to be hated. Mobs are always demonic. They are antithetical to this country's history. We have always understood that mobs were dangerous. I think Americans at this point, well, I was starting to say just before the break, Americans have always understood the danger of mobs. They are always dangerous. They are always demonic, 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 demonic. You had again, Democrats in New York engaging in massive, horrible mobbings against blacks in New York, lynchings, draggings by genitals. And Abraham Lincoln sees another Democrat mob, they're always the Democrats, sends the military little detour up to New York, crushes the mob, goes back, wins the war, and then Abraham Lincoln carries New York in the next election. So we've had mob uprisings before, but we've always known you can't reason with a mob. I think conservatives, I think a lot of peaceable Americans have forgotten that. We did have something as close as this country got to the French Revolution in the 60s with the Weathermen and SDS and the bombings.
And you have some interesting stuff in here about our buddy Bill Ayers, which was pretty interesting. I'm not going to give it up because I want people to buy. All right.
A small item. But the point is, Nixon came in, shut it down. There was the shooting at Kent State. And gosh, I know liberals don't like it. And you look on Nexus and, oh, the whole country was embarrassed. Well, I'm not embarrassed. That's what you do with a mob.
Funny when they say it on national TV. It's almost like I farted.
We're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming for dead in Ohio. Gotta get down to it. Soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been done.